Okay, so back with an update on the incident with the substitute teacher and the student at Rocky Mount High. And before we get started, much love and respect to Rocky Mount, North Carolina. If you haven't heard by now, the teacher was arrested and charged with simple assault. Xavier still was allowed to give a promise to appear in court and was released. The student, who was not being named because of her age, she's like 15 years old, was charged with simple assault as well via juvenile petition. And what it sounds like they're doing is trying to punish both of them to make it seem like it was equal, when it was the student who put her hands on the teacher, was being disruptive, and the teacher was only defending herself. Listen, all the substitute teachers, quit. Go and find another job, and then see what these administrators in these towns will do without you. Oh, and don't let the teachers all call out one day. Yeah, if you're working with bad, disrespectful children, let them all stay home a couple of days with their mama, and then see what they do. Because most of these parents defending this foolishness would lose their minds if they had to really keep their kids 24/7. And then ask those same parents, what will they do if their teenager got up in their face and hit them? Let's see how quickly they change up then. Now, everybody's been arguing all over social media on this. You have a bunch of people who said the teacher was wrong. Shout out to The Truth Revealed, who said the fact that this video went viral and so many women were disagreeing with the teacher and agreeing with the child, saying that she was just trying to get her phone back, shows why our community is the way it is. So true. No order, no structure. And then Life of Rut said, for the first time, I actually disagree with your statements. That teacher should have known better, and she actually hit her first by pushing against her in a very aggressive way. She has no right to take her phone in the first place. Nah, and it's okay for us to disagree on this. But that's not what happened. The student is clearly out of order. She was disrupting the class, all up in the teacher's face when she was supposed to be in her seat. Let's start there. If the student had her behind in that chair, none of this would have ever happened. The student was being disciplined, and instead of taking her punishment until class was over, she started protesting. And y'all let these kids run amok. Let them get away with too much, and then they start acting like they're grown. They carry the same behavior into adulthood. They do not know how to act. That girl kept reaching around the teacher, which was also out of order. The substitute teacher still didn't respond to that. What made her respond was when the girl hit her. And I guess her being a grown woman, she was like, oh no, she wouldn't let her own kids hit her. What happened was this girl got out of a child's place going back and forth with the teacher. Like, who raised y'all? You don't sit up there and argue back and forth with a teacher like this. Hanzo left this comment right here and said that teacher is twice as big and maybe 3 to 4 times heavier. What was she thinking? And just like I told Hanzo, you need to watch the video I did a couple of months ago. That teacher also was twice as big, but the student left her with a broken leg in the hospital. She had to undergo surgery because she didn't defend herself. That teacher is still out of work recovering from all of this. And if y'all wonder what I'm talking about, you missed that video. It was about the students and the teachers at a school in Rockdale County, Georgia. If you want to watch that, the link will be below. Listen, I don't care how much bigger the teacher was. Just like that story in Georgia, that little girl got the windmilling on her teacher, and a punch is a punch. Size doesn't matter. I just can't get over how that teacher, Miss Turner, she spent most of her life teaching these children, and she should sue the school system too. That district where she's working at in Georgia, they train the teachers not to do anything. Like, no, I'm sorry, I don't agree with any of this. And you know what, for the people who disagree, it's okay, you don't have to like it. These teachers, assistants, and subs, they are there with their children, doing a job that majority of parents wouldn't want to do, even if they could. Most of y'all still wouldn't homeschool your kids. But then you disrespect people like this? With this case in North Carolina with that student, the student was 100% out of order. Here's what Shanquitha said. She said, I love all these comments from all these perfect parents with all these perfect kids. I hope it stays that way forever. And before you ask, no, my children do not act like this. But if they do, I know I taught them better. Y'all act like we were never different in the absence of our parents. Yeah, growing up, especially as teenagers, we can say that a lot of times the kids may act different in front of their parents. But I don't know any children then or now who will go around putting their hands on teachers. That's out of order, unacceptable, out of line. I'm a millennial and probably the last generation who can remember the paddle. You could really get the paddle in school, but when I think about it, for the most part, the kids were in line. So I never saw one having to get the paddle. Now, I did see them ladies pull out them rulers. And if one of them got popped with a ruler, everybody else will be in line for the rest of the year. Or all they had to do was say they was going to call your parents. And that's something you definitely didn't want to do. You would probably get in trouble right there in front of all your classmates. So this stuff they got going on today, where all the parents, they're trying to be best friends with their kids, I just can't relate. And then you had another person who came on talking about we don't know what's going on in the girl's life and what made her do that to the teacher. Honestly, it doesn't matter why she did what she did. She jumped up in a grown woman's face and hit her. What are you talking about? If the police caught her in the streets, they wouldn't care either. You think an officer would just let her hit them with no consequences? See, what y'all want is understanding, but you have to teach your kids that the world doesn't owe them understanding, especially before they grow up into an adult. Nobody is going to care about why. Even Robert Kelly out here, he's in jail now forever. You think the jury or anybody else involved care about his violation by his own sister? No, nobody cares. You're going to be judged based on your own actions, not your upbringing, not your underlying issues. That's how it goes. This is the world, the reality. And shout out to everyone who left comments on the last video. This sister here says she was mad at her classmates. Girl, we did not do anything. You alone decided to cut up. She was referring to the student. Whenever all this happened, she went on IG and she was mad at her classmates, saying that nobody helped her. She just turned into this whole victim after she went up there and struck the teacher. Bass Reeves says the only thing the teacher did wrong was wearing that outfit. Yeah, it was too tight. Ladies, you know when you have big old legs, you cannot do that. That skirt has got to be longer and looser. You can't do it. You have to wear clothes that fit you, especially when working around children. Here's another comment our sister said, this is why I will not go back to substitute teaching now. And hey, I do not blame her. Ralph says, start suing these parents expeditiously. Lauren O also commented here. She said, parenting is definitely the problem. The student needs to be expelled, and we know the teacher will need a new job. Of course, Lauren, when I saw this, I was just thinking, although they have a policy saying that teachers are able to defend themselves, they're not going to keep her on. Miss Lee, she said, I feel terrible for the children who are actually trying to learn. Deborah says, homeschooling. See how they like it then? Old School says, if I was a teacher, I would have given her back the phone and put her out of my class. I wouldn't waste my time trying to make a child this disrespectful understand. It's pointless. Shout out to AB, who said, I got out of the school system last year and never looked back. My mental health was sinking. AB said the school environment is toxic AF. The parents are sometimes worse than the kids, which is true. And then our last comment here that I'm going to highlight. Rain Beauty said the moment that Shorty chose to swing on that teacher, all that she's a child BS went out the window. You want to act like an adult, you're going to get treated like an adult. That's something they don't seem to understand when S don't go their way. And then they want to act like a dog, but then people get on their behind and then they can't handle it. That's exactly what happened here. Again, shout out to everybody in the comment section. I also want to let you know that North Carolina lawmakers, they are considering a new bill that would enforce more strict penalties on assaults on school workers. The legislation, HB 534, is working its way through the legislature and could classify certain assaults as felonies for repeat offenders. I don't know much about it, so I can't say I support it. Sounds like to me as if they're going to be just putting more felonies on certain students. It's more than likely addressing those extreme cases, but there are so many different levels of disruptions and misbehavior in the school. No, the first thing you're going to have to do is 1, protect your teachers. Get behind your good teachers, support them, value them. And then 2, you're going to have to get parents involved, because most of this is on the parent who's responsible for their own children and their actions, by the way. You know, for instance, when it comes to civil situations, if a child did something, the legal parent is held responsible. So if their child is acting up, tell them you're going to cut off their food stamps. Tell them you're going to cut off that Section 8. If their child can't respect their teacher, tell them they have to come to school with their kid and sit there in their classes with them in order for them to come to school. Tell them that. Those are just a few solutions. You all may have more, but whatever the situation is, you have to really get behind your teachers and you have to get parents involved. You have to hold them accountable. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Tell me what you think below about the teacher and the student being arrested. What kind of message is this sending to other students? And then what kind of message do you believe is being sent to educators? Is there anything being done to protect teachers? Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.